Clerk, are we ready? I'll call to order this meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors for Tuesday, February 9th, 2016. Ask our clerk to please call the roll and establish a quorum.
Yes, good morning. Supervisors Kennedy?
Here.
Natoli?
Here.
Peters?
Here.
Cerna?
Here.
McGlashan?
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Thank you. And you have a statement to read?
Yes, Madam Chair. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T U-verse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and is webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Friday, February 12th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may sign in electronically at the kiosk located at the back of the room.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we're ready for our first item.
For your consent matters, you have items 1 through 32, and for item number 11, you are adopting an ordinance repealing section 6.99.380 of chapter 6.99 title 6 of the Sacramento County Code relating to detention facilities. You waived reading of this ordinance on January 26th. Madam Chair, this concludes my notes.
Okay. Does any member of the Board of Supervisors wish to pull an item or comment on an item? Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to just have a couple questions on number 3.
Okay, go ahead. We need to read the item, please.
Item number 3, authorize the Director of Airports to execute the First Amendment to the Taxicab Services Agreement with Sacramento Independent Taxi Owners Association at Sacramento International Airport.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, Mr. Wheat.
Morning.
Just real quickly, is there a plan going forward? I don't have a problem with this today. I understand why you're recommending it. But is there a plan going forward to look at releasing an RFP on, you and I have had this conversation, so this doesn't come as a surprise. This is an area that has changed pretty dramatically in the last 2 years, and I think it's in the county's best interest to test the waters and see what's out there and look for some competition and get people to sharpen their pencils and provide as good a service as we expect out at the airport. I'm a strong believer that our transportation system out there, on the ground transportation, I mean, they're the ambassadors that people see when they come into Sacramento, so I always want it to be the best it can be. And as I know you do. Is there a plan to look at going out for an RFP sometime to revisit and make sure that we're getting the best service that's out there?
Well, as the board knows, this was a 3-year deal that we entered into with Saitoa after a competitive RFP with two one-year options. What we're bringing today is an ability to make an amendment to that agreement that allows them not to have to replace 4 cars under that agreement to extend that next year. And as you mentioned, Supervisor Kennedy, the industry has changed pretty dramatically in the last year, especially with the introduction of Uber and Lyft now operating at the airport. To give you an idea, Uber is operating between 15 and 18,000 trips a month to and from the airport, which is a pretty substantial impact. What we're evaluating right now, to answer your question, is we're looking at, obviously we've got a lot more trips, a lot more people taking transportation for hire from the airport or being delivered to the airport with a different type of transportation as well as the current ones. So we're evaluating what are the impacts to the taxicab companies. Saitoa especially is the only taxicab company really at the airport, but also identifying what are the impacts to Super Shuttle and what are the impacts to our parking operation. We are not seeing initially at this point that the introduction of Uber and Lyft is a 100% reduction of service to Saitoa or to the shuttle service. While they're seeing some impacts, negative impacts with the new service coming in, plus we're seeing great passenger gains, at this point we're believing that one of the big impacts is to the parking operation. But to answer your question directly, we plan on analyzing that for the next 4 months. That will give us a good 6-month basis of that information. Once we have that, then if in fact at that point we'll have a lot more information, and our intent is to accommodate exactly what you want. We want to make sure that we're providing the best level of service that we can, and we also want to ensure that everyone's on a pretty even playing field, which right now they're not quite on that even playing field. So from a timing standpoint, in the next 4 months, it'll take us probably into a May timeframe, we'll have the information. If at that time it makes sense to move ahead because of all the changes in the industry, which I think there probably will, but I want to go through that analysis still, then we would have an RFP process probably sometime in the summer of next year for an award or extend the contract their final year. Would be the two options.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Mr. Cerna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment and question relative to items 8 and 10.
Item number 8, authorization to amend purchase order with Hangar One Avionics Incorporated for the purchase and installation of helicopter equipment systems, upgrades by increasing the amount payable for labor to an amount not to exceed $183,000. It's an approval of an appropriation adjustment request.
Great, thank you. The comment is, I was the member of the board that asked the question yesterday about the wording used in the financial analysis portion of the board letter, and we subsequently, all of us, received some clarity from executive staff about what the impact is associated with this action, and a distinction was made in the email that we all received between what constitutes net county cost and what constitutes an impact to the general fund. The suggestion I have is that in the future on something like this, that, in my estimation, constitutes a mid-year consideration, that we as a matter of practice, make that distinction in our board letters, make it very clear what is net county cost impact separate from a general fund impact.
We'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 10 is a retroactive authorization to apply for fiscal year 2016-17 Boating Safety and Enforcement Financial Aid Program from the California Department of Parks and Recreation, Division of Boating and Waterways, and authorization to participate in the program.
Great, thank you. I'm certainly prepared to support this item today, but it serves as a good reminder that in addition to what we're doing to prepare for the summer of 16 relative to water safety as it relates to boating on our waterways, I think it serves as a good reminder for us to get ahead of the curve here on what we're going to be doing relative to water safety for those that are trying to enjoy our shorelines. As everyone will recall, we had a very upsetting 2015, just putting it lightly, relative to the number of deaths, especially near the confluence of the American and Sacramento rivers. And so I think this serves as a good reminder to a number of our staff that we should be preparing now in early February for what is likely going to be another hot summer, and we're going to have a number of our constituents wanting to enjoy, especially Tiscornia Beach, where a number of those tragedies happened to occur last year. So I'm gently encouraging staff to continue thinking carefully about how we're going to provide a very safe environment for those who want to enjoy the rivers.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from other board members? Mr. Natoli and then Ms. Peters.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments on item 16, the Anna Kirchgater Elementary School Safe Routes to School project. This has been a long time in the works. At the time we started this conversation back in early 2000s, as I mentioned, 2009 in the staff report. It was in District 5. It's now in District 2. And so Patrick Kennedy gets to take it across the goal line here. But this was a concern for a lot of residents, and certainly for the young people walking to and from the school. We went out Walk Sacramento in 2009, but before that had conversations with the principal and so forth. So I just want to congratulate all those who have had a hand in it. It is a project that certainly will improve mobility and access, but safe access to the school there, and connects both Florin High School and Anna Kirchgater School with a sidewalk. So it's great. The other one I just wanted to comment on was item 22. It's the appointment of Celeste Syfax to the Metropolitan Arts Commission, and I know it's a consent item, but had a chance to talk with Celeste. She resides in the Oak Grove area, but both she and her husband are very engaged in the community, and I think she'll do a great job serving on the commission. I know she has a tremendous interest in it, and just wanted to note that. That's all I have.
If I could just follow up real quickly on number 16, Supervisor Natoli. I was out at the school recently, and their praise of you all, because I wasn't here when this started, was very overwhelming. It's been a huge addition, and I have to praise staff too. The 2% change orders, that's what we like to see. Phil and I like to see that in South Sacramento.
Good.
Ms. Peters?
Yes, thank you. I'd like the record to reflect I'm recusing myself from item 2 due to a potential conflict of interest from business interest.
Okay, is that it? Any other comments from board members? I have no one signed up to speak from the public, so a motion would be in order.
Second.
Please vote.
Unanimous vote, and let the record reflect that for item number 2, Ms. Peters has recused herself.
Okay, I'll give me a moment here to catch up on the agenda, and we'll move on from there. Okay, so our next timed item that we're actually hearing today is at 10:30 a.m. So at this point, the board will recess to closed session and then return in time for the 10:30 item.